Greetings, Guardians, my name is Byf here. In this series, we'll be continuing to cover the lore of the Crota's End raid and the events that led up to it. Whilst there are going to be many important episodes in this series, there are perhaps none more important than this one. Today we're going to talk about the moment that solidified Crota's position as the Nightmare Tyrant of Luna and saw the last city's greatest army broken against a single hive blade. We're going to talk about the death of one of the city's greatest heroes and the desire for vengeance gained by another. We're going to see the foundation for the entire story of our conflict with the Hive definitively laid out in this single battle. This event that is known as the Great Disaster. The Great Disaster is a tragedy that's really born of two things: the hubris of the last city's leadership and the lives lost because of that hubris. Before we talk about the arrogance that compelled the consensus to believe that they could and should retake the moon, we should first talk about the people who were sent into that battle. Chief amongst them, I want to discuss two figures of legendary status, Eriana III and Wei Ning. In the City Age, surrounded by heroes such as Andalbrask and Pahanin and Saint 14, these two were in noble company indeed. They were living in one of the greatest generations of Guardians that had set foot in the Tower. Their story's beginning is best described by Eriana herself. In the lore tab of the ship, Eriana's Vengeance, we see the Warlock describe the moment when she first laid eyes on the Titan that she would grow to love. To Wei Ning. More than anything, I hate the idea that we will be remembered as a tragedy. That's not true. I reserve that distinction for the monster that took you from me. But I know it's what you would hate the most. You, who were always so full of laughter. So now, in this moment, as the ship named for my vengeance flies me and 5 others to Luna, I will remember the happy times. Our first meeting in the Tower Saloon. Your laugh made the glasses clatter. You bought 3 rounds for the entire room. Pahanin introduced us. You sat me down next to you and plied me with questions about storm trances. All things that on any other night would have annoyed me. But that night, because it was you, I knew then and there that I never wanted to be without you. Eriana and Wei were lovers, plain and simple. The two women would be inseparable as defenders of the lost city, despite their remarkable differences. Eriana was a Sunsinger Warlock of the Praxic Order, bound to fight the darkness with practical action and strategy, bound to cast out all its aspects, regardless of what they manifested in. Eriana was measured and respected knowledge. Wei Ning, on the other hand, was an unyielding titan of the Firebreak Order who was the first to kindle its eternal flame, the Fire Victorious. I want to talk a little bit more about how awesome Wei is as a character because there are so many great quotes and other moments in the lore that are attributed to her. So, let's give you a few examples. Her preferred combat strategy came in the form of a simple punch to the face, and she even once told Pahanin that if she met the darkness itself, she would simply punch it too. It took her a second to consider that, apparently. Some titans inscribe the phrase, "the last and surest argument," into their right gauntlet, a phrase attributed to Wei Ning, a phrase that your enemies will see when you punch their lights out and end the argument yourself. Some titans tease their warlock compatriots with the so-called Pujari-Wei ratio. Pujari was a famous warlock and Wei is Wei Ning. The ratio is a colloquialism referring to the amount of time it takes warlocks to plan battles versus the amount of time it takes for titans to win them. Wei Ning at one point supposedly hugged another guardian to the point that it left a wound comparable to a Cabal slug rifle. Wei Ning has also shared a great degree of her combat knowledge with quotes such as, "Tactics? Pfft, just use your head. Literally, ram your head into them." And to conserve ammo, we disrupted the enemy command structure with several sharp blows to the skull. And yes, we've achieved the objective. And the next. And the... Were we supposed to stop attacking? Wei Ning is just one of those legendary titans, to the point that her fellow Firebreak titan Callisto Yin once stated, "When I'm lost, I think, what would Wei Ning do?" And she always has an answer for me. Undoubtedly, that answer was to simply punch the damn thing, whatever it was. A strategy that Wei Ning surely loved, because the lore tab of the Fighting Lion tells us that she once punched a mountain. And it moved! Just a little bit, but nonetheless, she made a whole mountain shudder at a microscopic level. You can't tell me you're a titan and not love Wei Ning. She is a walking, talking badass. Over the years together that she and Eriana spent, there would be many notable moments with them throughout the lore. Wei Ning would gift Eriana a magnificent hand cannon, which would one day come to be known as Eriana's Vow. She would also write letters to Eriana, and as best we know, Eriana kept them all, even down to the moment where she went into the Hellmouth with them. It's not clear when and where, but one day, Eriana III made Wei Ning a mark made from her own warlock robes. A little lore and a little thing about titans, their marks are significant. In traditional titan battles back in the City Age, marks were donned and then doffed before and after a battle, as a memory of that particular battle. A mark is a literal badge of loyalty, office, and achievement. It can be worn as a sign of conquest, to represent the defense of the city, in remembrance of those that are lost, or to represent one that they are defending. Titan marks matter. They are filled with meaning, and the meaning of Eriana's gift to Wei Ning should be plainly obvious. The exchange between the two of them, where Eriana gave Wei Ning this mark, is recorded in the star-crossed mark, which perhaps shows us what those robes looked like in the new form that they had taken as a Titan mark. That lore entry reads as follows. Come on, let's get out there. Those fallen aren't going to punch themselves. In a minute, I wanted to show you something. Oh? What's in the bag? Only one way to find out, isn't there? Open it. New mark? A new mark that... this looks familiar. Eriana, are you regifting? It's cut from my old ropes. I thought... Well, I thought your old one looked a little ragged. It's very soft. It's not that soft. I thought your old one looked a little ragged, and this would be a good way to, dress me up. Just kidding. Go on. What is it? Wei, will you join my fire team? Wei Ning's response, I think, can be found in the flavor text of that same mark, and it reads, "You don't even have to ask. I'd follow you to the end of the galaxy." This tender love between these two guardians is unfortunately a story that turns to tragedy, and it's all thanks to the consensus, the leadership of the last city, including both the Vanguard and the factions and the Speaker. The exact circumstances that led them to this course of action aren't precisely known, but it is known that the Guardians took part in a sortie which is simply referred to as the Battle of the Burning Lake. This narrow victory against the Hive was a moment at which we bore witness to their technology and power for the first time en masse. We saw them make use of their mighty blades, we saw them take to battle against us, and we were barely victorious. But with the knowledge of victory in hand, the consensus had other ideas in mind. With the knowledge of the Hive weaponry, Lord Shaxx recognized that the Guardians would need to train with swords of their own and relearn the art of fencing in order to counter these terrible weapons. They would need to learn to survive them if any chance of success was to be had. But then he heard news of the consensus's plan to attack the moon. Now, Shaxx isn't normally one for politics. His permission to create the Crucible is perhaps the closest he's ever truly gotten to the inner workings of the consensus. But in this instance, his direct sense of duty and pragmatism would force him to storm into the consensus meeting just after the decision was made. This would not be the last time he would make the right call on his instincts and battle acumen alone, but sadly, the Battle of the Twilight Gap was yet to occur. His legendary status and his legendary instinct were yet to truly be tested in stakes that would save the lost city, and therefore his warnings, which are recorded in the grimoire card of the Raze-Lighter exotic sword from Destiny 1, would fall on deaf ears. Next order of business. The growing city foundries. What madness is this? Lord Shaxx, the consensus did not... We barely eked out victory at Burning Lake, and now you think we're ready to attack the moon? We're preparing. Did you not read my report from Burning Lake? About the Hive's weapons, those swords, they're like nothing we've ever... Lord Shaxx. Zavala, you can't think this is wise. We need to examine these swords, train against them. That is a matter for the consensus to decide, old friend. And so it was. The banners of the Cormorant Seal were raised and the greatest army of the Guardians ever known was assembled. They were sent to Luna. Unbeknownst to them, they were sent to die. Though they left believing themselves to be conquerors and reclaimers, they would find themselves outmatched. And Eriana III and Wei Ning were amongst their number. The reports from the actual battle that would take place across the surface of the moon at Mare Ibrium in the Ocean of Storms is not well reported. Reports are scant and not well verified, but Eris Morn was able to give Mara Sov a brief recounting of those stories at a later date during Shadowkeep as she communicated with the Queen of the Reef. That particular report regarding the Great Disaster has an excerpt that reads as follows. I vividly remember the stories from that night. The sky burning green, the roar of thunder ripping through the darkness, and the Eater of Hope tearing through our ranks. Crota, the merciless Hive Prince whose dark campaign to pursue the Traveler led to the slaughter of countless worlds, all in the name of his father, Oryx, the Taken King. I'll never forget the Vanguard's failed attempt to reclaim the moon from the Hive. The Great Disaster. We lost thousands, needlessly. I fear we are on the verge of doing so once again. We also know that a great battle line of Guardians led by the Titan Order of the First Pillars would face Crota in battle to buy Wei Ning time. This is recorded and known thanks to the recovery of a ghost shell that once belonged to Gunvor, the legendary Titan given the moniker of the Dawncaller. Take a listen.
Wei Ning needs more time. It falls to us. First Pillars, to me! Crota, Gunvor the Dawncaller challenges you. Rah!
As the battle raged across the Ocean of Storms and at Mare Ibrium, it was clear that the Guardians had underestimated the Hive forces to a calamitous end. They were going to encounter more than stiff resistance. They were going to be wiped out. Our key account of the devastation that came at Crota's own hand, unfortunately, comes from Eriana III herself. She recorded her interrogation of a captured Hive wizard some distance away from the battle. Here we see firsthand the moment at which Eriana learned of Wei Ning's fate and of the nightmare of Luna that would haunt her days until she was dead. My name is Eriana III, disciple of the Praxic Warlocks, marked by the Cormorant Seal. We came here under one banner, united in a host of thousands to claim the moon, but the battle goes against us. I have taken a prisoner, and this is the record of its interrogation. If I transgress in your eyes, I ask for your forgiveness. Eriana, it responds to pain. It responds to light. Hurt it again. Monster, heed me. Who is your master with the sword? I can hear it. In my head. The sword-bearer's name is Crota. Record that. Should I burn it again? No. I think you're only feeding it. I will touch its mind. Ghost, help. They call you wizard. You must be ancient. I think you value power very much. Will you still be powerful without this piece of your mind? Tell me how to kill Crota. It showed me the battle. It showed me Wei Ning, dead on Crota's blade. It showed me how Crota killed a guardian with a screaming knife hammered out of his own ghost. So I will take a piece of its mind and ask again, tell me how to kill Crota. Incredible. Where is his throne? Where is the Twilight World under the Dead Star Eye? Eriana, there's word from the company at Mare Ibrium. Crota is upon them. 100 dead. They need us. Tell me where. Tell me how. Tell me! Eriana, what did it say? It showed me how it did this. Just exactly this. To an awoken man. The knives arranged by its will. Like little silver ships. Like ghosts. It laughed at me. It said we were the same. Crota marches with 1,000 knights, and they say the sky above Mare Ibrium has turned into green flame. They are dying in numbers I cannot bear to repeat. He kills them one by one with a sword that eats their light. Eriana, we have to do something. Kill the wizard. Scatter the ashes. It has nothing but lies to offer. Get your sparrows. We have light and fury. That will be enough. But as it happens, light and fury were not enough that day. The Guardian armies were routed, and the retreat was sounded. The following message would represent the Vanguard's official note on all matters concerning the moon until the days that followed in the dark below. By order of the City Consensus and the Guardian Vanguard, all ships immediate repeat and relay. We hereby terminate all organized combat operations on or around Earth's moon. Effective immediately, we declare the existence of an interdiction on the moon and cislunar space. Guardians operating in this interdict will receive no formal support from the Vanguard or from City assets. We urge Guardians to exhibit the greatest care and consideration in approaching the interdicted space. We furthermore derogate all strategic objectives concerned with the recovery of assets or information from the lunar surface, and, without exemption, cancel in whole and in all its parts the effort to establish a beachhead and strategic presence upon the moon. This interdict will remain in effect until such time as the hostile presence on the moon poses a demonstrable existential threat, or until intelligence is obtained that leads to the defeat of the enemy leadership elements recently encountered. Guardians with an accurate assessment of losses in the recent days, or with intelligence on the nature and method of hostile resistance, should report to the Vanguard immediately for debriefing. With this one message, the Vanguard and the Consensus had seen the price of their arrogance, and had chosen to cut their losses. Thousands of Guardians were crushed, the city's defenses were weakened, the morale of the citizenry was crippled. But regardless of the breadth of the losses from that day, there was one who felt its bite especially deep. Eriana III had watched her love die on the blade of Crota, the son of Oryx, shown to her by the wizard and its nightmarish cries. This would stay with her for the rest of her life. And whilst at first she believed the wizard to have lied, the truth was soon laid bare for her to see. The retreat would be sounded, and of the two lovers, only one would return. Though she had no method or plan just yet, Eriana in this moment must have sworn a simple oath. She would kill the Nightmare of Luna. She would destroy Crota, the son of Oryx, and avenge the death of her lover. No matter the cost. How this links into the story of Crota's End is something that we'll unpack as time goes forward, and we'll start to explore the largest part of our story, the tale of the first Crota fire team and its many notable faces. We'll also be exploring what happened to Crota after their failed attempt to attack the moon, and we'll unravel what happened that led Eris Morn to survive deep down in the Hellmouth. But everything I tell you in these videos regarding the Crota's End raid starts from here in this moment, with the great disaster and with Eriana's vow to avenge Wei Ning. But that's all from me for now. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. And if you want more Destiny content, go ahead and hit subscribe and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments section. And, as per usual, know that your viewership, as always, is quite enough for me. And that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Parodasia Arastra. I'll see you, Starside.